Hey you guys, Miss Smith here. Today we're talking about graphing linear equations with tables. We are going to do problems 2 and 6, and then numbers 1, and at least talk about number 5. So let's get started. As the title of the assignment implies, you're going to be graphing these equations by using tables. So you're not just using your knowledge of slope-intercept form. We want you to get used to graphing the lines using a table because that's something that's going to be really useful for you in the future. Also, what if you were given a linear equation that maybe wasn't in slope-intercept form? Well, then a table would be a useful tool for you to graph that as well. So let's get started. Like I said with number 2, feel free to fast forward, rewind, do whatever makes this video useful for you. So with our XY table, let's make it over here. Let's choose 5 values, and I think choosing the ones closest to 0 would be a good call. So you could do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Let's just start with those values. And now what we're going to do is plug each value in for x in this equation and see what we get for y. So maybe you grab your handy-dandy calculator, and I'm going to start by plugging my -2 in for x. So we're going to start with the 6. It looks like 6 is multiplying by the x, so I'm going to go 6 times the value for x, which in this case is -2, and then I'll still do -3. And that is going to equal -15. So I'll put that under my y value. And now we're going to repeat the whole process, but for -1. So let's go 6 times -1 minus 3. This time I get -9. That's my y value. Okay, we're going to go with 0 this time. 6 times 0 minus 3 equals -3. That's going to go right here. Next up is 1 for x. So 6 times 1 minus 3 gives me 3. And now finally we're going to plug 2 in for x. 6 times 2 minus 3 equals 9. Okay, so those are my y values. Now I'm going to just graph them on the graph. Now if there are some that don't fit, no stress. Like for example, -2, -15. Well, -2 fits, but is there a -15 on this graph? No, so I'm just going to skip that one. What about -1, -9? -1, -9, that's actually not going to fit either. I mean, you could guesstimate it would be about right there, but if you want to just skip it, that's fine. 0, -3, that will fit. 0, -3, we'll put that right here. 1, 3 will also fit. Put that right here. And then 2, 9 also will not fit. But is it okay? Like, I could make up a point about right there, but really, how many points do you need in order to graph a line? Well, you really just need 2, so this would be enough right here. And that would be my line. Okay, so that's how you graph from a table. I'm going to do another example with number 6. Number 6, y equals -x minus 3. I'm going to make the same exact table out here to the side. I'm going to use the same x values. Now, I'm not getting these x values from the equation at all. I'm getting them from my own head. And the reason I'm choosing these x values is I just want the x values that are closest to 0. So if you're wondering where I got these from, it's just I'm choosing to use those middle 5 x values. Okay, let's plug in -2 first. So we've got -x minus 3. Let's get my calculator. Okay, wait, x, what am I plugging in for x? I'm plugging in -2. So it looks like I'm going to have a -2. Look at that, isn't that fancy? And of course, we all know that's the same thing as a +2. If you'd rather just put it in there as 2 after thinking it through, you could do that. But sometimes it's nice to have this match what's on the page. So -2 minus 3, oops, I did not mean to push that. There we go, -1. Okay, next up is -1. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go -1 minus 3. That gives me -2. Okay, now we've got 0. There's no such thing as -0. I'm curious what it's going to say if I put -0 in. It'll either go with it or it'll give me an error message. Yeah, it just went with it. Okay, -3. But if I did just 0 minus 3, that would do the same thing. So -3. Okay, now -1. -1. This time I only need the one negative because I'm getting it from the equation, and there's no second negative in front of that number. So -3, -4. And finally plugging the 2 in, so it'll be -2 minus 3, -5. Okay, now we have a bunch of these points that we can plot. Starting with -2, -1 will be here. -1, -2 is up next. Here. 0, -3. Here. 1, -4. There. And 2, -5. Okay. They're all lining up in a straight line. If they don't make a straight line, then something's wrong and you should just go back and check your work, especially if there's just one sticking out to the side. Check that one that's sticking out, right? Okay, straight line, we're good to go. And that is how you do just the normal equation table ones. But what if it's not like a normal equation with a x and a y? What if it looks like this, y = -4? Well, guess what? You can still make a table. It's going to be a slightly different process though. I'm going to use the same x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so now if I plug -2 into this equation, well, I'm supposed to plug -2 in for x, right? But there is no x. So what happens? Actually, it just says y = -4. So I'm going to put -4. And if I plug -1 in, well, again, I can't plug -1 in for x because there's no x. So it's still going to be -4. And if I plug 0 in, well, same idea. There's still no x to plug it in at, so I'm going to still have y = -4. So what this is telling us is that no matter what the x is equal to, y is always going to equal -4. So we're going to get a bunch of points that look like this that we can now graph. -2, -4, -1, -4, 0, -4, 1, -4, and 2, -4. They make a nice little line. Let's connect the dots, and then we're done. And you could also take a look at number 5. Number 5 is similar because it only has an x. It doesn't have an x and a y. I'm still going to make my table. Oh, this is going to be confusing. What am I supposed to do here? Let's make the table with the y values instead. So when it's an x equals a number, make your table with the y values, and you can use the same ones that we've been using for x because we still want them to be the ones that are in the middle of the axis, okay? All right. Now, if I plug -2 in for y, I think you know where I'm going with this. Well, I can't plug in -2 for y because there is no y, but it does tell me that x just equals 2. So no matter what y equals, it's not going to affect this because there isn't a y, right? But x is always going to equal -2. So I'm just going to write my 2's all the way down the x side, and now I have my points that I can plot. So 2, -2, 2, -1, 2, 0, 2, 1, and 2, 2. And they're all lined up. I'm going to connect my dots, and I'm done. If you guys have any questions, ask your teachers. We're here to help you. Please make sure you are using the tables on this assignment, even if you know other ways to graph your lines. On this assignment, we want to focus on those tables. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.